Right. Right. Hopefully, no more technical glitches for the rest of the
Touch
show.
wood.
Yeah, touch wood. And let me just turn that music off. And now we should also have Ben as well. Can you hear us, Ben?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Cool. How have you been doing? It's been a while. Like, what have you
Mate,
been
it's
up
been
to?
a
Yeah, what's
while. We've been
good?
very busy over the Saturdays.
What have you been up to? I've seen you doing your candle stuff.
Yeah, so that's been taking quite up a lot of the time that
What
we've been
candle
actually working on it.
stuff?
Mhm.
So yeah, let me give you a little shout out, or free little promo out here.
Shameless plug. Come on.
So we are doing very bougie candles at the moment. So we've gone
Oh, you're
through and sourced
making
out.
them.
Put in?
You're making them handmade.
Yeah, from scratch.
Oh,
Mainly,
lovely.
I should be honest. It's mainly Lissy that's doing most of this. I'm just doing the photo shoots. I'm just there like,
Oh,
let me help out. Like, let me feel useful for once.
that's
Mm.
cute. What inspired the candles?
Um, I don't really know. What inspired the candles? She shrugs her. She shrugs in confusion.
You know what? Everyone
I
loves
assume,
candles. It was always going to be a winner, weren't it?
Mm.
yeah, I think partly because I think it sounds really sad, but we love candles.
No,
I think we
everyone
just
loves
like,
candles.
Mm.
yeah, either kind of like the makings of an arson, but
Yeah. It's interesting. They're like I was gonna say flavors, then, but you're not eating them. What are they? The
The
scents.
sense.
yeah.
Like the watermelon one. I thought that one's really interesting.
Oh yeah, I quite like. Honestly, the watermelon one slaps. I really like the watermelon one. I think, and not to be like, oh, I like not to say that mandarin and sandalwood are boring to me, but like growing up in like an Asian household, sandalwood's kind of like a standard,
Mm.
Mm.
and mandarin. I mean, I like oranges, so mandarin's not too far. So it's kind of like what I know. But watermelon, I don't really eat much, and that really does smell
Oh
really
my
nice.
god,
I
I
don't know if
love
you ever had
watermelon.
Hubba Bubbas back in the day,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
watermelon Hubba
Yeah.
Bubbas.
Yeah, just
That's kind of what it reminds me of.
sweets that are like watermelon flavored were always like.
I love real watermelon. It's one of my
Literally.
favourites,
Mm.
man.
You know what's? It's really divided opinion. I've met so many people that have been like, "Yeah, watermelon's overrated." I'm literally like, "What?
No, it's
what,
not.
what are you
It's
talking
not.
about?"
It's not.
Like,
It's honestly like mango and watermelon, my top two faves.
Mm.
Delicious.
Yeah,
Sure.
solid.
Mm.
I've got to say, mine's probably it goes down in pineapple and mango, depending on the season. Like if it's mango kind of outside of sort of mango season, it just
Yeah.
doesn't really hit
That's
with me
true.
very
Mango,
well.
depends from mango from where as well, like South Asian mango, not like supermarket mango.
Mm.
Oh
Like,
yeah, for real,
like the
for
one you
real.
find in little packets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Mm.
Kesar mango, Alfonso, honey.
Oh,
Oh,
Alfonso's like the one I
oh.
love.
Yeah, I
Great
agree.
with it.
Alfonso's the one
Guys,
for me.
honestly, I have tears in my eyes, like waiting for mango season.
That's a few months,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah,
Like 2
not
months
long.
now.
Yeah, not long now.
In other news, Halima had a bit.
Oh, for
of
God's sake!
um,
Right, disclaimer: anyone who's watching this on live stream or who can see what I look like, I tried to do a whole new hair, new me situation. And I was supposed to dye my bangs silver, but they've turned out ginger because I bought a silver box dye and it has hydrogen peroxide in it. So I thought it would lift. By the way, I have like jet black hair. And I thought it would lift and then dye. But basically what I needed to do was bleach it first and then dye it silver as a two-step process rather than just one joint step. So now I'm walking around with ginger hair. I do want to say that how it looks on camera is a lot brighter and a
Yeah.
lot more orange. In person, would you say it's a lot more brown?
Right, I can vouch for it. No, like it is. It's definitely
Oh, for
ginger, but it's not like. But it's not like the ginger that it's appearing on the live stream right now is like.
And you know what's so
ridiculous,
peak as well? You know what's so peak? Because obviously I bought one whole box dye for like just my bangs. And last night, I tried it last night. And last night, obviously, it didn't come out silver, but it came out a really nice, like, golden brown color. And then I was like, oh my God. So, like, maybe if I tried it again, like, it will because I had half of the box dye left. So I was like, oh, if I try it again, maybe this time it will actually be closer to silver. And now it's ginger. So I should have just left it last night. But my hair is in transition at the minute, guys. Next time you see me, it will be silver, touch wood,
You know,
by the will and grace of God.
you have to go over
Like-
some bumps to get to the final destination.
Yeah.
I don't-
Like,
I
I don't
really-
know whether to dye my hair now. I was
You
thinking of shaving it
should!
all off, like all of it.
No,
Just go
dye it
straight
first.
silver.
Dye it like a
pink.
stupid, ridiculous color, and then shave it. Because if it goes wrong, well, you can just shave it then.
True. Yeah.
True. But I wanted to go like full Frank Ocean for a while. I was like, I'm just gonna shave it all off and just go crazy. Like, I'm just gonna do it.
Do
I'm just gonna
that,
do it,
do
but I
that, but
haven't done it.
diet before you do it.
You know what I wanted to do,
Yeah.
which I've kind of lost the opportunity to do now that I'm semi like growing my hair out, is you know when it's like short, like up like a bit like very like maybe like a one, and people do like leopard print, like that looks really
Oh,
cool, like
yeah,
colours.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
I wanted
yeah.
to try that, but I kind of missed my jump. Maybe in the future, but
Maybe you could just cut it slightly shorter, or now
yeah.
you're adamant on growing it.
You know, I don't know. To be honest, I need a barber. Like Ben just messaged like before
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, your beard's amazing." I was just like, "Thank you," but like, if I'm being honest, the reason why it's so long is because I haven't done anything to it for like 2 months. Like, literally, like, and it's kind of because, to be honest, it's because I bought a new like what's it called, trimmer, and then
Trimmer,
it has a really short battery life. So I've kind of just got
Just
really,
giving up with
I
it.
just got really annoyed with it. I was like, "Oh, I can't be bothered," and now it's
Yeah.
just like, yeah.
I've decided to go for the moustache. I've decided to shave all around it and go for a moustache just to see if I can do it, because lockdown's taken me to other levels of style. I've gone through virtually every style thing.
Oh, frozen. Is my mic? Oh, I was gonna say, is my mic
Yeah,
still working? I
I
was just
thought-
talking quietly.
Uh-oh.
Me personally, I'm also struggling with the facial hair situation because I'm getting laser. Well, I was getting laser, but I've not been able to have it for like almost a year because of lockdown, which is very annoying.
With that, isn't it like you have like, oh no, it's laser eye surgery where it lasts 10 years. Does it not last that long for hair?
Laser hair removal is permanent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
it's permanent, but it takes quite a lot of like appointments to get like completely hairless.
sure. We've literally gone down a complete like hairy tangent now, but let's get back onto like the main news point that we're going to talk about today, which was obviously last week we covered what was going on in terms of the anticipation building up towards Meghan and Harry's Oprah interview. I actually got it wrong last week. I thought it was going to be on the Saturday, and then I realized it wasn't. And actually, Pi Radio thank me, because I stayed up all night just to watch it on live stream and write up a full thing to like so that people have it all. And it's completely displaced my sleeping pattern for the rest of the week. Like literally,
Really?
this morning I went to bed at like 6.
Solomon,
and woke
give
up
him
at
a
1.
raise.
Yeah, exactly. Like literally not even getting paid, but like, you know, like we'll get to that later. But anyway, going back to Meghan and Harry,
Yo.
I wanted to ask, first of all, I'm presuming everyone here has watched the interview.
Yeah.
So, what did we think, and were we surprised by what was said?
I was not surprised at all by what was said. I think a lot worse would have been said. I was maybe slightly surprised that they were admitting it to the public.
Yeah.
As in, because you didn't think that they'd air dirty laundry like that, or because you thought they'd be scared to?
Scared.
I mean, do you know what's interesting? Because, like, if we take it back to 20 years ago, even longer, we had, like, Diana just airing it out left, right, and centre. She was just, like, on the forefront of this stuff. And do you know what? Like, Harry's kind of had... I mean, like, I'm not going to be like, oh, poor Harry, you're literally a prince. You're literally a But I'm going to say it on the front of that kid's had to deal with a lot of stuff that I think even some celebrities don't really have to deal with that much. The guy's a literal prince. And protection is something that he has known for his entire life. So the thought that he suddenly wouldn't be able to have this protection was like, fair enough, maybe not for me. But for his son, he then loses, his son doesn't even get the credit of royalty. He doesn't even get any sort of names, titles, whatever. Instead, the opposite happens. So that leaves him open to a lot of attack by the press. And to be honest, I don't know what people might think about what happened to Diana, but a lot of the reasons that her life pretty much went either slightly downhill from then was because of the press. Like, yeah, it's quite crazy. It's quite crazy. I don't really feel particularly bad for the whole money side of it, but what I do feel quite worried about is the way that the royal family, and like I said, like Halima said, I'm not surprised. Really not surprised, not the slightest. Like, Michael is out there going, like, colonizing the entire world, like 3/4 of the world, and then going, so we're not racist, but we do, you know, colonize people.
Honestly.
Do you know what's been mad has been the if you've seen the press that the royal family's done over the past week, Charles and William, like suddenly they're surrounded by black people.
Yo,
It's
they even got the
amazing.
auntie wearing kente. Like they really. Oh my god! It is just so predictable. It's so predictable and it's so see-through. Like it's such a one-dimensional attempt at trying to display non-racism. Who do you think made that comment about Archie's skin color?
Yeah, I thought we were going to go into this, and I just want to like back us up here in terms of saying we are by no means promoting that anyone has said anything. We're merely discussing it in light of what was said in the interview. So on that note, who do you think?
This is our own speculation. I think it was William. You know.
Ooh, I want to say it's Charles. In fact, if it's not Charles, Camilla, she's sus as anything. Listen, Camilla's been playing some tricks back in the day. I'm not going to be surprised even if it's one of like Prince William's or Prince Harry's aunties.
You know what the thing is? Like, it really could have been any one of them. Like, it really could have been any one of them.
Oprah came forward afterwards and said like it's not the Queen or Prince Philip. So at least that they're like on this like massive
that's what I'm
mood board of who it could be.
It's someone. It's someone who's gonna remain in the public eye for a really long time because they were like, oh, we don't want to discredit this person's reputation. So probably Charles or William, I think.
Yeah.
The whole thing is very, you know what, like, okay, so the whole thing is obviously very, very crazy, and I have sympathy. My kind of like, the extent of my sympathy goes to the fact that obviously the misogynoir that Meghan Markle was facing, and the fact that it made her suicidal, because that is just not acceptable for in any case under any circumstances. However, I feel like in some regards, like this whole thing, as much as I feel sorry for them and as much as I can see that they're having a hard time, my sympathy is maybe slightly limited because I'm looking at the situation now and I'm thinking about the fact that the royal family, by the way, and this is my opinion, well, actually, I don't know, well, I was going to say it's fact, but like I don't think I'm allowed to say that on radio, so I'll just say it's my opinion. They are like racist, imperialist, like structure, like that is what they are, and I'm wondering if either Harry or Meghan would ever have come out and spoken out if the royal family had not rejected them. Like is what they're kind of making this point about, like, okay, Harry put it as colonial undertones, which really just means racism. He put it as colonial undertones. Would either of them have ever said anything about the colonial undertones of the royal family had they not been personally affected by them? So is that morality or is that subjectivity? You know,
I think there's a lot to say because Harry's like, I don't want to be like, oh, Prince Harry's like biggest supporter. Far from it. In fact, I'm not much of a royalist, but as a person that's kind of like, I'm not going to say I know that obviously, it's just more like you kind of see them as evolve as the time goes on. Will and Harry are both very different, perceived very differently by the media. Incredibly, Prince William during the noughties and the 90s was like this handsome, effervescent sort of young, charming man, whereas Prince Harry was a bit of a guy on the bend. Though he was always like in the sun, like his backside hanging out in Las Vegas or whatever, like what have you. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it took him a far longer time, and his relationship with the press has a lot to do with it. He's been trying so hard from a very young age, because even from a young age, he was described as this kind of cheeky, chappy, or rebellious version of the two kids that Diana had given birth to. Will is perfect. Harry is a bit of a loose cannon. When actually, it's crazy that was the kind of stigma that was put onto Harry from a very young age, from a very, very young age. So now he's running with this fuel of whatever, and like, you know what, the guy was like, oh, I was so naive to it that I didn't even know that my family could do it. I was like, bro, again, let's not beat around the bush.
Yeah, I think that was nonsense. I'll be honest. Like, oh, I was naive about it. Like, no, you weren't. You're part of the royal family, and what, like, colonial undertones, fam? Your family invented colonialism. What do you mean colonial undertones? I don't believe that. And this is where I feel like people are giving him way too much credit. I don't believe that he was ignorant. I don't believe he was shielded and living in this bubble. How can you, when you are living with and at the heart of empire, how can you be so ignorant?
I think he could have been ignorant. I just think it was willful.
Yeah, exactly. So he knew that there was a such thing as colonialism and empire. If he didn't know the extent and the true horrors of it, it's because he decided not to. So again, it's not the same as, oh, I was just naive. It was I chose to be blind to it because I don't want to face, whatever it is.
Yeah, like, and that doesn't take away from the fact that, as we said, he's obviously gone through a lot with regards to his mother,
Yeah.
growing up
No,
in the
of
press,
course not.
etc.
Of course.
But at the same time, just because of that doesn't mean that you're not going to be held accountable.
Yeah, because this is now they're now coming out and talking about the issue of race and racism, and you can't ignore his complicity in it. And also, to an extent, Meghan Markle's, because she married into a family that are inherently racist and imperialist. So
this was my one thing that I just wasn't, that I'm obviously completely in support of Meghan in regards to this whole thing, but the one thing that I was a bit like about was at the very beginning of the interview when she was like, I never Googled him, I didn't like look, and I was just a bit like, I accept that you're American and that you probably don't know the true extent of what the royal family is like and what it stands for, etc. But to say that you never Googled Prince Harry, like, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know if
I think more to what you're saying. Okay, fine, you didn't Google it. Let's just fine, cool, whatever. But then when you did enter the royal family, surely at that point you would have learned about it and understood what they are and what they stand for. And she still, at the start of when she'd got married to Harry, had written a letter to the royal family expressing her servitude, saying to them that their plan was to do royal family duties for the rest of their life. Like her plan was, she'd literally written to them and said, I'm at your disposal. So she had very willingly become part of this apparatus of, or everything that the royal family stands for, and it's only because they rejected her that she's now had some kind of moral objection to it all.
I think it's hard because obviously we can sit here and critique it, but then we'll never know truly what went on. Nevertheless, it's good to like show both sides to it.
Sure. I think, again, like I say, like, and that's a good point actually, because one thing I know about, well, just generally about press and journalism, is that as reporters and generally as people who do research, we only know as much as we can actually see. And it's kind of an annoying point because that's kind of the truth of everything. You only know as much as you actually see and as much as you're allowed to see. So you can make speculations, and definitely, for sure. And sometimes even with these, I'm just sat there going like, yeah, but let's be real, we know who said those comments, like personally, or like at least to some degree, we have a good understanding of who has these old vibe views. Do you know what I mean? Or these old time views, still wanting to hold on to these old kind of lifestyles. I was watching also an interview when Diana was doing charity work, helping out in South Africa. I think it was somewhere else particularly, but a British reporter came up to her and said, isn't your help very much revolving around Labour? Like, isn't that very much Labour policies? I was like, what does politics have to do with this? Do you know what I mean? Like, it was a bit strange that it was almost seemingly so, as if this report was tying the British royal family to the Conservatives. If you feel what I'm saying.
But is that not what the assumption is? Like, I definitely would look at them as Tories, like.
Oh, for real, but like, everyone's meant to be. The royal family isn't meant to be anywhere, even in like conjunction with parliamentary
But they are
politics.
though. But they are, like, you can't. They are at their core a political entity.
Is what you're saying, like, you feel like when the reporter was going into that with Diana, they were basically trying to stir the pot, basically, in terms of like try and paint her out as being just completely polar opposite to what the royal family stands for. Is it sort of that idea? I think we're gonna probably have to move on from this soon, but the final thing that I wanted to touch upon, and again, let's bear in mind that we should be polite and courteous whilst discussing this on radio, but
for real.
Are you gonna bring up who I think you're gonna bring up?
Yes, Mr. Piers Morgan.
I was. If you hadn't said that, I was gonna say, oh yeah, one last thing.
Yeah. So, first of all, I would just like to say my piece, which is, again, not trying to cancel us or put out any like hey out there or whatever, but at the same time, I just want to express my personal disappointment in ITV. And again, it's not me coming for you. This isn't like this is all fact. You let Piers Morgan go on for so long, and you also you knew the day after that interview like what he was the lines he was going to go down. And like it's even after he made that comment about Meghan's mental health and not believing it on the Monday, you then allowed him to come back the next day and bring her father into the equation completely unprovoked, completely unnecessarily. When like I'm sorry, I just don't see how you can justify that. And I think the fact that it was it was later that day that he was stepped down or whatever, but I just feel a bit like you kind of took him on for as long as you wanted, got the maximum clout out of him,
that's
and then
what
you were
is.
like bye.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm just a bit like fed up with the whole thing.
That's literally how TV ratings works. Like Piers Morgan is that entity that kind of you want to punch, but realistically all he does is radicalize your nans and then occasionally says some fun facts about the politics that's going on at the moment. And it stretches out. Like he's literally radicalizing your nan about some random stuff, or like all brown people or black people or anyone of color, bad. And or like any other views that you've got on like well you can be homophobic if you want, or like blah 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 blah, and you're a bit like what? How are you just allowed to say this thing on daytime TV?
He's disgraceful, honestly, and this is my opinion because I know Carlos was trying to be all courteous on radio, but I'm not a very courteous person, and I'll say it. He's an absolutely disgusting, disgraceful person. Honestly, how can
Carlos is shaking.
I'm just looking at the camera. Like.
What self-respecting person has the gall to go on ITV's flagship show and discredit some like a woman? A mixed race woman is talking about the fact that the UK media has made her suicidal. Who are you to say you don't believe her? Who are you? I mean, okay, I'll tell you who you are. A fan. A fan, bro.
I thought that F was going somewhere else.
No. Don't worry, I'm not that much of a loose cannon. Don't worry.
No,
it's disgusting. It's shameful. It's embarrassing.
And I think the main thing I want to say is about the irony that all this went down on International Women's Day.
Oh,
like,
can I extrapolate from? Obviously, this is a very specific example between Piers and Meghan, but can I just, as a woman here, can I extrapolate and talk about the wider problem here? There have been a number of videos like circulating on Twitter, and there was one that I saw which is a compilation of Piers Morgan talking about Meghan Markle before he had this vendetta against her. I should say what led to this vendetta against her. And he's talking about the fact that they went out for drinks one time. He obviously, in his delusion, thought he had a chance with her. And then obviously she then met Prince Harry. They got married, and he's like, she ghosted me. I'm just sad I lost a friend. Like, these are all quotes from him, by the way. So he's affronted because he thinks that something was gonna happen between him and Meghan Markle, and then she aired him, she ghosted him, and now he's really upset. And then he spent the past few years just spewing absolute vitriol against her. A lot of women out there have either know of or have had a similar iteration of this story happen to them personally, where a man has tried it with you, he has not succeeded, and has become very, very reactionary, very violent, very vitriolic in response. It speaks to male entitlement. The fact that men think that they are entitled to your time, to your attention, to your affection, and if they don't receive, if their attention and their interest is not reciprocated, which, by the way, it's always the woman's prerogative to not reciprocate, then apparently that is a justification for vitriol and for hate. And in this instance, we've seen it to the extent where, let's be straightforward here. A lot of Piers has been one of the leaders in the media hate campaign against Meghan, right? And we know what that hate campaign did to her. It almost made her, lose her life. Is that not manslaughter? Bruv, because I was just about to bring up the point that this seems like a fairly mild version because we've seen it so many times in the news and in people's personal lives where men have become physically violent. Men have literally killed women for rejecting their advances. Spewing hate in this instance seems like a mild thing, but I guess also not, because it did have a role to play in her feeling suicidal.
Yeah. And do you know what the craziest thing about entire interview was when he says, "Oh, I thought I lost a good friend," and I was like, "So in your head, what you're telling me, run it by me again.
Yeah.
In your head, to make friends, you're gonna diss him. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes zero sense to me.
It's weird. He went out for drinks with her once.
Yeah.
It's weird, man.
And this
Piers
tie-
is like, yeah, just no.
this ties into what we're going to talk about next in terms of the very sad case regarding Sarah Everard. But we're going to play a few tracks now, and when we come back, we're going to get into discussing that. This is Bambi Baines with Retrorari.